What's cracking, peeps? Your boy T-Money up in the heezy. Happy Tuesday. So, a little while back, those of you who watched my videos a while ago, I was doing different segments where I would go over, like, collection overviews, like my Vinegar Syndromes, my Arrow videos, my Scream Factories, basically just collection overviews of my different companies within the horror genre. So I haven't done one of those videos in a while, and actually before, when I first sat down to do this video tonight, my initial intention was to do another rare DVDs in the horror genre video, and I started pulling 3 or 4 titles out from the same company, and I realized, why don't I just do a collection overview for a particular company that I have not done before. And then I thought about it. I was like, maybe I should do my Vinegar Syndromes, my Kino Lorbers, which I will do, even though I've done Vinegar Syndrome before. I haven't a lot of the, it's been at least like 7 or 8 months since I've done any collection overviews for specific companies. So I will start doing updated versions of all those again pretty soon. But tonight I decided I'd go with one, A, because 3 or 4 of the titles are rare, and I was going to do them anyway for the rare DVD thing, and B, because I've never done this before, this company before. I only have 23 titles, so it's one of the boutique companies that I collect that I have the smallest amount of titles from, mainly because they don't put out titles very frequently, and then, but I have been buying their titles for a while, not that long, collecting. I haven't been collecting everything that they put out for a long time, but I've been buying select titles from them for a long time, if that makes any sense. So let's get right into this. I got a stack full of Blu-rays and a stack full of DVDs. And the company I am talking about is none other than Mondo Macabro. Now, Mondo Macabro is a pretty awesome, obscure company that kind of specializes in releasing genre or horror films that are produced from like different countries. So you've got like the Greek horror films, the French, the American, the Italian, mostly foreign, they specialize in, and they just kind of dig up, in some cases, some really unique and strange and obscure and fun and just fucking weird movies that you've never seen or heard before. And that's what I love about this company. It's like every title they put out, for the most part, is one that I have never heard of before, with the exception of a few more recently. But for the most part, just like very unique and offbeat and weird movies from Greece and all sorts of, like, Indonesia, all sorts of different places around the world. So anyway, Mondo Macabro, really cool company. They do red case limited editions. They do DVDs. Mostly what we're getting these days, they're still putting out DVDs very, like, scarcely, but they'll put out a new release and they'll do like 1,000 print run of a limited edition red case, and then a few months later they'll put out, so they're in on the whole gimmick thing as well. Then a few months after they release the limiteds always sell very fast, and then a few months after they'll put out like a standard edition Blu-ray on a regular Blu-ray, and the red case editions that they put out, the limited ones, usually have like supplemental features that aren't included in the standard editions. They're in a red case, if that matters to you. Those are the main differences. If it was just the red case, I would say fuck it, but it's the fact that a lot of these have special supplemental features that are not included in the standard release, what I want to get. It's a company that, for whatever reason, I always miss the boat on their red title releases. I always end up having to get the standards, because by the time I catch wind to something, they're sold out. So I'm not hip to the Mondo Macabro at all, but I love what they do for the most part. I've definitely been introduced to some really cool films. So I will shut the fuck up now, and I'll start talking about, or start showing you my collection. So first up, we have Mill of the Stone Woman. Very interesting film. It says it's from France and Italy from 1960, directed by Giorgio Faroni. Starring Pierre Brice, Seiya Gabel, Wolfgang, a bunch of people that I've never heard of. I'll go ahead and read you the synopsises of all these titles, just because I only have 23 of them, and a lot of these films I haven't seen yet, especially the ones that are sealed, because what happened was, a few months ago, the owner of Mondo Macabro came across a stack of older inventory, and They put them up on the site for a very limited run at a specific time, and the stuff sold out like instantly. So I had grabbed a few titles, this one included. So it's an older release from Mondo Macabro from 2004, to be exact. So I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it's Mill of the Stone Woman. It says, in the early years of the last century, just outside Amsterdam, Holland, a young artist is hired to do a study of a famous local landmark, a windmill that contains stone statues of notorious female monsters of the past, murderers, poisoners, and witches. One day, he meets a mysterious but dangerously beautiful real-life woman in the mill. Before long, he is drawn to her clutches. But who is this girl, and what is the terrible secret that keeps her hiding from the world? The DVD version of this horror classic restores all of the scenes cut from its original US release, including the notorious topless shots of sexy French star Danny Carell. So that is Mill of the Stone Woman. Sounded really cool. Wanted to grab that. Next up is another very old, highly sought after Mondo Macabro title, and it's The Vampire. It's from Mexico, 1957, directed by Fernando Mendez. Produced a full year before Hammer's version of Dracula's story, this is one of the great classics of post-war Gothic horror. Count Lavud, an ancient vampire, comes to Mexico to revive the body of his dead brother. He discovers that the crypt where the body is buried is now part of a rundown hacienda. The suave Count sets about seducing the women who own the hacienda. Soon she joins him on his nightly... on his nightly forages for blood. Did I miss something there? The woman who owns... Okay, no. So soon she... Okay. Then Lavud sets his eyes on the woman... I'm sorry. There's the woman's virginal young niece. So, very cool. Sorry about that. The Vampire. So, that's from 1957, I said. Next up, another unique Argentinian vampire story by the name of Blood of the Virgins, Sangre de Virgenes, directed by Emilio Vieira, a potent combination of hot Latin spice, Hammer-style horror, and topless go-go dancing. This vampire movie from south of the border is a wild and untamed slice of raw cinema. A young bunch of swingers are on holiday in the mountains. Listen to this. This is the best synopsis. A bunch of young swingers are on holiday in the mountains. One night, their van breaks down. They seek shelter in an abandoned lodge. It's a night one... I don't know why the apostrophe S is there's a space and no apostrophe on the word it's in all of these releases. It's a night none of them will ever forget. A raunchy and radical production, as you'd expect from a country that produced both Evita and Che Guevara. Okay. So that's Blood of the Virgins. Awesome synopsis there. Next up is another very rare, older Mondo Macabro title. So what I gather is that in the very beginning, the inception of Mondo Macabro, their releases were held in black cases. Then they switched to red or clear, and then they switched to clear. So it's either clear or red or clear, vice versa. I'm not sure, but originally they were black. So this is an older release from, what's the year? It's blocked by the sticker on here. Doesn't say, but it's an older release, I know that much. And this is a film from 1972 from Spain, Dr. Jekyll vs. the Werewolf. I actually got a really good deal for this one and one other one that I'll show you that's coming up recently from Cult Media Facebook group. I think I may have showed this quite recently as well. It says this is the 5th film to feature Spanish actor Paul Naschy as Valdemir the Wolfman. Love him in that role. Here he comes to swinging 70s London seeking a cure to his malady. Unfortunately, he meets Dr. Jekyll, who injects him with a serum that turns him into a lascivious killer, Mr. Hyde. In his top hat and black coat, Hyde haunts the flesh pots of Soho while two gorgeous women fight for possession of the Wolfman's soul. Top grade Euro horror and definitely the craziest werewolf film ever. So, very obscure, rare film from Mondo Macabro. That was from 1972. Dr. Jekyll vs. the Werewolf. This may be the first title I ever grabbed from Mondo Macabro. Now we get into the red cases. Don't Open Till Christmas from 1984. Very schlocky, cheeseball, killer Santa slasher. Or is it a slasher where the killer kills Santas? It stars and is directed by Edward Purdom, who you guys may know as the professor from Pieces. He's also in several other Spanish horror film slasher productions. But he actually directed this effort. I think his first directorial debut. It stars Carolyn Monroe as well. It's Christmas time in London, the season of goodwill to all men. A time for celebration, a time for family. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's 1984. A time for presents. This year, it's also the time for a masked maniac to be let loose on the streets. His intended victims are chosen at random, but they all have one thing in common. They are dressed in the following white beard and bright red robes of Santa Claus. The killer selects different methods to fulfill his grisly task. One Santa has his throat cut, another is axed to death. A third is held face down in a red-hot brazier. I always forget how to pronounce that word. Brazier, maybe. A fourth is castrated and left to bleed to death. The police are baffled as the horrific death toll rises. 14 corpses and only 3 days left until Christmas. So yeah, very cheesy, schlocky, low budget, cheap effort, but I love it all the same. Very fun. I recommend that one, especially if you're into Killer Santa slashers. Next up, we have one from the Greek collection, Mondo Macabro, The Wife Killer from 1976, directed by Takosta Karayan. Penniless playboy Captain Jim is in hock to his rich older wife, Helen. Don't know what that means. She has even bought him the fancy yacht that now bears his name. But Jim does not want to be Helen's toy boy anymore. He wants to marry his lover, Laura. Jim pays a psychopathic killer of women to murder his wife so that he will inherit her millions. Sounds like a Tales from the Crypt episode. But the psycho killer has his own plan. Suspecting Jim will double-cross him, he engineers a complex scheme that will give him the upper hand. Very much in the style of the violent and Baroque giallo thrillers of the 70s Italy, The Wife Killer is a twisted, shocking, and brutal exploration of the devious male psyche. Previously only released to cinemas in a cut version, this is the first official DVD release of the U.S., completely uncut and uncensored. So awesome. That's The Wife Killer. Next up, we have a really unique Greek film, Medusa, from 1998. It's one of their newer releases, directed by George Laspoulas. The only problem with this film that I have is there's not enough Medusa in it, but it's still fun, unique. There are definitely good special effects sequences too, involving like people turning to stone and whatnot. But in this wry retelling of the ancient myth of the Medusa, strange closed statues of men are appearing all over Greece. Only Perseus, the leader of a gang of modern Athenian thieves, holds the answer to the mystery. It has something to do with a beautiful long-haired woman in black who's connected with his strange childhood. One night, his gang breaks into a deserted house in the countryside looking for goods to steal. What they find is entirely unexpected and leads Perseus on a dangerous journey into his past. Medusa is one of the very few attempts to make a modern Greek horror film. Its intriguing plot unfolds in a surprising and yet entirely logical way, creating a uniquely atmospheric thriller that reworks ancient myths into an original and highly personal narrative. So, yeah, highly recommended. Like that film a lot. One of the best. Those of you who have seen From Dusk Till Dawn may recognize the title Centennial Pandemonium. That is the beautiful dancer in the movie with the snake. I'm forgetting her name now. How could I forget her name? She's a huge actress. Spanish. Gorgeous. Drawing a blank. Not going to dwell on it. But that's actually... her character is named after this film. So I'm going to remember right when I'm finished. But anyway, so this is from Mexico, 1973. Directed by Gilberto Martinez Solares. In the spirit of Ken Russell's The Devils, excellent film, and Juan Lopez Montezuma's Alucardo, another film by Mondo Macabro. This is one of the most subversive, violent, and shocking films ever made about religious life. With a stunning performance from the often naked Cecilia Pazé, the film inspired Salma Hayek. Thank you. It says it right on the back here. Character from Dusk Till Dawn. Okay, good. Thank you. I wouldn't have been able to sleep if I couldn't remember Salma Hayek. Sister Maria is known in the convent for her good works and charity, but in the secret depths of her sexual desires and fantasies, she's tormented by visions of another world, a world where her forbidden passions are allowed to run free. In this world, Satan is her master. As her acts of violence and blasphemy mount, Maria realizes that she's been chosen by the devil himself to destroy the convent and lead her sister nuns into hell. So yeah, fun one. Kind of nunsploitation, but not so much. One of my favorites, Satan's Blood. I showed you guys this one in one of my rarities videos that I did. I told you I found this at FYE. It's released by Code Red as well. And also another company in the UK put it out on Blu-ray, which I own. But this is the uncut Euro version of Satan's Blood. Very cool film. 1977. The atmosphere in this one is awesome. Really highly recommend it. The castle, the rich satanic rituals in the film are excellent as well. Just kind of like a satanic ritual style film, but highly entertaining and highly atmospheric. So I'm not going to read the synopsis on that one, just for time's sake. Perhaps one of my favorites from Mondo Macabro, we have Mystics in Bali. Totally weird Indonesian from 1981 horror film. Basically about this couple. This one girl is fascinated in this culture where I'll read you guys the synopsis. It's an amazing film, one of my favorites. So this is the film that introduced a new kind of monster to the world cinema screens. A sensation on its initial release in Asia, Mystics in Bali was deemed too bizarre and too shocking to be screened in the West. Until now, this is the first time the film has been released in the US and is completely uncut and digitally remastered from the original rare negative. The film tells the story of a young American woman who goes to Asia in search of the secrets of ancient magic. There, one night in the forest, she encounters a female member of the terrifying cult of Layak. She agrees to become the Layak's disciple and begins to indulge in many strange and savage rites. But the Layak witch has secret plans for her young acolyte. I don't know. Plans that culminate in one of the most bizarre, sorry about the phone, and shocking scenes in all of horror cinema. This movie is fucking creepy. The witch who's featured on the back there is the Layak or whatever, has this cackle that is just like, you will never forget the cackle in the woods. And it's awesome. It's very atmospheric, very creepy. The first time I saw this movie, I fell asleep like midway, and I was awakened to the cackle of the witch in the woods, and I was fucking scared shitless. I'm not gonna lie. It's creepy as all hell, and I love it. So that's Mystics in Bali. Actually, Mood616 is the first person who told me about that film, so big ups to you, buddy. Second to last for the DVDs, we have Alucarda from Mexico and USA, co-production 1975, directed by Juan Lopez Moctezuma, who also directed the other film I talked about. I'm forgetting the name of Satanico Panamondium. No, it's not. Oh, I don't remember. Sorry, one of them, though. The Psychotronic video guide describes this film as the strongest, most imaginative and visual witch movie since Ken Russell's The Devils. It tells a story of a strange relationship between two young girls, Justine and Alucarda, and how their relationships destroyed the lives of those around them in a torrent of blood, death, and damnation. This legendary lost film contains scenes that will shock and disturb. So, there you have Alucarda. And last up is another one that I grabbed very recently with Dr. Jekyll versus the Werewolf in a lot for a good price. The Devil's Sword, another Indonesian horror film. Well, it's kind of horror, kind of adventure, kind of epic, kind of just weird. From 1983. It's definitely like an epic adventure flick. Deep under the ocean, in her palace of crystal, lives the sexually insatiable Crocodile Queen. She uses her body to enslave men to her will. All who enjoy her favors become mutant warriors in her zombie army. The queen wants the power of the deadly sword and entraps the one man she thinks can bring it to her. The Devil's Sword is one of the triumphs of Indonesian fantasy cinema. So it's like fantasy horror, basically. Packed with jaw-dropping scenes of incredible wildness. It's the closest thing to a legal hallucination. That's right. I talked about that very recently. Alright, guys. Going on to the Blu-rays. I'm going to try and speed this up because we're at 20 minutes already. We have the famous Lucio Fulci's Lizard in a Woman's Skin. Great giallo film from 1971. You guys know about this film, so... was this his first film? I know it's one of his earlier works for sure. So I grabbed this. This one was really unique. Indonesian, or South Korean actually, from 1981, Suddenly in the Dark. And all these Blu-rays, before they were released to regular standard Blu-ray, like I said, they had the red cases. I have a few of those releases. I'll share them last, but mostly I have just the standard releases. This film was really cool, though. It's kind of about this weird, possessive Asian woman. She thinks her husband's cheating on her, and she's very paranoid, and she's psychotic, and it's really creepy, and it involves like possession and stuff. It's really good. Next up is one I haven't seen, Night of a Thousand Desires. I get the impression that it's more of like a sexploitation film than it is anything else. It's directed by Jess Franco, 1984, color from Spain. Also released by 88 Films, we have The Fox with the Velvet Tail from 1971, Italy and Spain, directed by Jose Maria Forque. It's a 71 giallo film. That's all I need to say about that. Read the synopsis if you want. An excellent release. Blu-ray and DVD combo pack. One of the few they did, The Devil's Business. Highly recommend this movie. You should check it out, guys. It's a film by Sean Hogan. Veteran hitman Billy Clark and his young, inexperienced ward break into a house at night awaiting the return of owner Kist, whom their gangland boss Bruno wants dead, with no questions asked. As midnight approaches, Pinner keeps the nervous Cully entertained with an eerie story about a previous hit he had carried out on a beautiful striptease dancer. Before he can finish his tale, a sound from outside the house draws them into the night, and to a horrifying discovery that is only the start of their long night of terror. Sean Hogan's film has been acclaimed by audiences and critics as one of the best Brit horror movies of recent years. The film is from... It's kind of weird placement in this one. 2011. So it's definitely one of their more recent releases. I believe it's 2011. But yeah, it's an awesome film. Highly recommend it. Inquisition, another Jess Franco flick. I'm sorry. It's not a Jess Franco flick. It's starring Paul Naschy. For whatever reason, I always mix up Paul Naschy and Jess Franco. They're totally different people. Totally different directors. For whatever reason, I just do. But this is a Spanish film from 1976, directed by Jacinto Molina. In 16th century France, inquisitor and magistrate Bernard de Fossey travels to the plague-ridden region of Pyrrhiac in search of witches and devil worshippers. Local beauty Catherine quickly catches his eye, tormenting him with impure thoughts. Although her affections lie with her handsome fiancé Jean. Meanwhile, embittered, one-eyed manservant Renovier presents Bernard with his first group of torture victims when he accuses several sexy young things who spurned his advances of being witches responsible for the plague. One by one, beautiful women are tortured on the rack, then burned at the stake. No one seems able to halt the Inquisition's reign of terror, or the baseless accusations that caused so many innocent deaths. When Jean dies in mysterious circumstances, Catherine allies herself with Satan to get revenge on her enemies, foremost among them De Fossey himself. This was horror star Paul Naschy's directorial debut, and one of his very best films. He plays 3 roles: Inquisitor De Fossey, the Devil, and the Grim Reaper. This film is a brutal and unrelenting portrait of a past when superstition and terror ruled the minds of men. Craziness. I haven't watched it yet, obviously. Another really unique one that I watched recently, Symptoms, directed by Jose Romero Larraz. UK-Belgium film from 1974. A dark and haunting study in psychological horror. That's all you need to know. It's excellent. Highly recommend it. Another great film about psychological horror and possession and obsession. We have The Fan. Highly recommend. Not possession, obsession. We have The Fan, directed by Eckhard Schmidt, 1982, from Germany. Next up, we have a really unique one that just came out, directed by Vicey Moss from Latvia. We have 1991 Spider. Really weird spider film. I don't want to go into details on this one. You want to read the back on that one. We're running out of time here. But it's very weird and obscure. And I actually enjoyed it, for sure. I love my spider films. The Killer Spider is not the forefront of this one, but there's definitely an amazing spider sequence in it that I highly recommend. Very, very visually stunning. Again, I have Lizard in... Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot to mention. So now we're getting into the 3 or 4 rare red cased editions that I have. I have Lizard in a Woman's Skin as well. Number 510 of 999, as seen on the back. Lucio Fulci, of course, Giallo from 1971. Already talked about that one. Spider, I have number 467 of 500. So these are all extremely limited. Usually range between 500 and 1,000. And last up, last but certainly not least, directed by Vicente Aranda from Spain, 1972. We have The Blood-Spattered Bride, also released by Blue Underground, I believe. I haven't opened this one yet just because I am going to grab the standard version for viewing purposes. This one is number 235 out of 1,000. And yeah, so that's basically it. Another Giallo-esque type film. Highly recommend it. I'll read you the synopsis on this one. Susan, a young bride, travels with her husband to his family's ancient manor house. So, the films of Mondo Macabro are very foreign. They're very cultural. They're very atmospheric. That's what I love about them. They're all the scenery in all the films is like top notch. It's like something out of a dream. It's so many dreamscape sequences, stuff that you would just like, you know, that you would literally dream about. And that's what I love about it. They're so weird and otherworldly or world, I don't know what to say. Susan, a young bride, travels with her husband, this has been a long video, to her husband's ancient family manor house in the far north of Spain. Susan is a virgin and is very hesitant about her husband's sexual demands. She's also disturbed by her unfamiliar surroundings and wonders if she will ever come to terms with her new married life. She's shocked to discover that all of the old portraits of female members of her husband's family have been locked away in the basement. When she finds them, she discovers that one of the portraits shows a woman holding a strange dagger. The woman's face has been cut out of the painting. Her name is Mircala Kalstin. This atmospheric gothy horror film story is widely regarded as one of the very best vampire films ever made. Controversial in its day for sexual content. Did I say this was a Giallo? Clearly it's not. I don't know what I was thinking. It's been a long day. I haven't seen this movie actually since I first got it, and I think it was included as a co-release with another Blue Underground feature, so it's been a while, but I've definitely seen it. This brand new version restores the film to its whatever. So yeah, brand new 4K treatment of this one, so excellent. So cool, I'll have to revisit this vampire flick for sure. Very atmospheric, I know that much. So anyway guys, that's it. Sorry that this video was so long. I actually thought it wasn't going to be as long. But that's my Mondo Macabro, my modest Mondo Macabro collection of like 24, 25 some odd titles. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out Mondo Macabro. They're definitely a company that deserves more recognition, even though they're definitely like a niche. They definitely have their market, I would say, among horror films in the subgenre, and people who like more of a, you know, cultural diversity in their horror film. They just like to, you know, explore different horror films from different regions around the places around the world, that sort of thing. It's really cool, but I recommend you check them out. You can get all their standard editions readily available. Some of the older DVDs that I mentioned are long out of print, but definitely a company that you need to grab their releases within, you know, a reasonable period of time. Otherwise, they will sell out and they will become very expensive. And a lot of the DVDs you can't even get. Like, even they're not even available, like readily available on eBay. And who wants to pay those kind of prices anyway? So guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch y'all soon with a new update. I don't know. You guys know the drill. It'll either be a collection update, a mail day, or one of these, or one of my rare videos. So have a great night. Talk to you soon. Peace.